welcome. Thank you so much for watching. This show is all about giving you insights and showcasing brands that help you to live your best life and give you confidence. As always, I want to kickstart your morning with some motivational advice to help you to feel inspired and energized to start your day. Today, I want to talk about the importance of raising your standards. Raising your standards means that not only do we have expectations on how others will treat us, but more importantly, we have expectations on how we treat ourselves. By raising our standards, we become our own life coach and coach ourselves to be disciplined and focused when we fall off track. When we don't have a baseline of standards on what we will and will not accept, it's easy to fall into negative patterns of behavior. When we hold ourselves accountable, we are able to break negative habits and cultivate a life that we are proud of. Well, how do we implement having high standards during this COVID-19 pandemic? It all begins with the decision to do so. Make it your mission today to raise your standards. Feeling lazy? Make the decision to get up and take action. Do you want to make that phone call that can change your life? Make the decision to do it. Want to change up your routine? Take an online course. Read that book you've always wanted to. Set goals for yourself daily and keep moving. Why? Because you're worth it. By raising your standards, you begin to hold yourself to a level of excellence that attracts the quality of life that you deserve. As Tony Robbins quotes, I challenge you to make your life a masterpiece. I challenge you to join the ranks of those who live what they teach, who walk their talk.
Today, the whole world is facing tough and unprecedented times. Unfortunately, stress, fear, and anxiety have become a part of our daily life. Soon, this will be but a paragraph in our history. But for now, we must continue to adapt, keep our bodies and minds healthy, and simply do our best. We are in this together, and together we can rebuild a world where our health, wellness, and planet are our first priority. You can start your wellness journey with me and make this your time to be your best, physically and mentally. You have the power. Join me, and together we can make this happen. Join the Yoga Fire community now and start your transformation so you can ignite your passion, achieve your goals, and live your best life. You can now practice anywhere through my Yoga Fire app, even if you don't have internet access. This app is compatible with all your mobile devices. You can even schedule yoga classes so you can stay motivated and accountable by making time to focus on you and your yoga practice. There are classes and levels for all abilities, from beginner to experienced, and there is a special area devoted entirely to athletes. It's so easy to join. Sign up on yogafire.tv now and begin your 14-day free trial. Welcome to class.
Joining us now is Tim Seutter, the founder of Yoga Fire TV. A firefighter by profession, Tim discovered yoga and it quickly changed his life. Yoga empowered Tim mentally and physically and led him to create Yoga Fire TV, a platform which offers a wide array of yoga classes that can be done in the comfort of your own home. Tim, thank you so much for being on the show today. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for inviting me to come on. This is really great.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So before we dive into it and talk about your company, Yoga Fire TV, let's talk about your background. You're a firefighter by profession. What was it about yoga that intrigued you?
Well, I've been a firefighter for about 18 years now in Canada and New Zealand.
Yes.
And it's kind of I'll try to keep my origin story pretty quick here.
Yeah.
But basically, I was in my late 20s as a firefighter, and I bent down one day to look at one of the truck wheels, and and I stood up, and I was kind of a little achy and a little bit like a little groan, and he just said to me, "If you think you feel sore now, wait until you're my age and you're 40." Oh wow. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Like, this is gonna get worse. And so, I just right around the exact same time, a friend started going to yoga with his partner at the time, and he said, "You should try out hot yoga. It's so hard. You'll never be able to make it through, Tim." And I was just like, "Yoga? Are you serious? Like, that's the easiest thing ever. Like, give me a break." On the kind of almost like a dare, I just kind of said, "Well, I'm just going to give it a shot." He says it's hot. He says it's hard. It's sweaty. Okay, I'll give it a shot. And I went to a local hot yoga studio, and yeah, it knocked me around. Being a former athlete and coming from kind of a profession that has a lot of alpha tendencies, doing yoga that was so hard right from the first class to years later, it's just always just kept me interested in the physical aspects to begin with, and then the more spiritual and mental sides of the practice that I learned later on. So yeah, it was an interesting journey, because I get a lot of times people say, "How are you a firefighter and a yoga teacher?"
Yeah, I'm sure you have a ton on your plate, I can imagine. I know you mentioned that yoga bonded you with your colleagues. Let's talk about that.
When I started doing yoga in Canada when I started going to the yoga studio, it was so hard for me, and we had a really tight crew at the time, and we were really into our fitness and doing things together as a crew. And so I said, "Hey, you guys, you should come with me and try out this hot yoga class. It's like ridiculously hard." And a couple of them, after some prompting, came and tried it, and yeah, it was really hard. But probably the thing that really got myself and them more into yoga was I bought some DVDs from like this is early mid 2000s, before 2010 kind of thing. So DVDs were a thing then,
Yeah.
And and so I just started putting those in. We had a 2-story fire station, and we had our fitness area in the bottom part of that, and I just started throwing in some DVDs in there, and then people started this guy started hopping in and doing the classes with me. And before I knew it, we would be doing yoga at the fire station with the DVD kind of two or three times through a set. And then I just started doing it on my own at a local yoga studio on top of that. So it just it started there. And then when I moved to New Zealand, I did a firefighter exchange here for a year. And I showed up at the station in the city where I live now, called Whangarei. Most Canadians can't pronounce Whangarei. It's medically, as a Canadian, you would pronounce it Wangari, but in the proper Māori pronunciation, it's Whangarei. And I showed up here in 2012, and I started doing yoga in the fire station here. And like, if Canadian firefighters thought I was being crazy, New Zealand firefighters, it was just like, holy cow, what is this weird Canadian guy doing? Guys started joining in with me. I wasn't a yoga teacher at the time, and it just, in this kind of weird way, these Kiwi firefighters kind of started thinking like a little bit differently out of the box about like, oh, well, fitness can include stretching, we called it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a way, when I left Canada, it was a way that firefighters here were able to start doing yoga, and it just kind of brought us together in a different way.
Yeah, and you mentioned you're Canadian, so I have to ask, where in Canada are you from, and how did you go to New Zealand?
Yeah, so I spent most of my life in Edmonton. That's where I was raised, and where I went to university, and where I went and became a firefighter. So I'd spent 30 plus years of my life in Edmonton, suffering through Edmonton winters.
Yeah, they can be. Canadian winters are brutal. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I was in my early 30s, and it just felt like I needed a challenge. So I decided to, in firefighting, there's this thing where you can change jobs with someone for a year. And my wife and I just, she wanted to come to New Zealand, and it worked for me. We had met some friends who had done the same thing coming to Canada. And so we decided to give it a shot to come to New Zealand. Little did we know, after a year staying here, that we would decide to stay permanently. So now we live in a little tiny village beside the ocean called Nunguru. Again, a really hard one for Canadians to pronounce.
Yeah. Let's talk about your passion for yoga and how you started Yoga Fire TV.
Like yoga has been since I started doing it in my late 20s, it has been just a really important part of my life. Before I ever thought of becoming a yoga teacher, it just, with my career as a firefighter, there's just a lot of stress, shift work, and just a lot of trauma that you experience. And before I knew anything really about that, when I started doing yoga, I just noticed that I felt better.
Yeah, definitely.
Physically, and my thought process has started to change. Like I started to value things differently. I started to be more integrated with other things in life, not just about being in the race and trying to collect as many things as we possibly can.
Absolutely.
And through the years, it just became something where I originally, like most people, started with like a physical practice. I came to yoga because I wanted to feel better in my body from injuries and everything like that. And as the years went on and I kept doing more and more and more to the point where I do yoga pretty much every day, it's just continued to be interesting. It's continued to create a balance in my life. And this became really poignant for me in 2017. I kind of went through, I guess, a pretty big crisis in my life then. I was basically diagnosed with PTSD and actually stepped away from being a firefighter for it was about 9 months. And through that time, it was a very challenging time. And I just found that despite being put in front of all sorts of mental health professionals, no one knew what a first responder went through, and then find a robust way to deal with that. But through that whole time, I found a yoga practice that really worked for me. It completely changed from anything I had done before. And I really started to focus on meditation and mindfulness, and how these aspects of a modern practice that transcends just the physical postures that most of us think yoga is. And it actually helped me rebuild my life, rebuild my goals in life. The fact that I literally almost quit being a firefighter. I was like this close. It was such a dark time. But through yoga, meditation, and rebuilding myself from the inside out, I was actually able to return to work. So I've been working for two years plus since this happened, and I've been able to find a more resilient way to deal with first responder type things. We experience a lot of trauma and a lot of things that normal people don't see in life. You can have as a police officer, a paramedic, a firefighter, you can have multiple people in a 14-hour shift that you've unfortunately have died, and then you finished your shift and you're supposed to go home and just get the kids ready for school and go on. And those kinds of things work for a while, just getting on with it. But eventually at some point you have to learn to deal with these things. And for me, yoga and meditation just was the thing that just brought me out of that darkness. And this thing taught me that stuff's all great and it's a great place to start with, but I needed to find that mental resiliency, and yoga had the skills and the tools to help me do that.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm a big advocate for meditation, exercise. It definitely really helps you to feel more centered, especially in meditation. And everyone's home right now and, dealing with some mental health issues when you're quarantined. So I feel like Yoga Fire TV is perfect for our viewers. Let's talk about the different classes you guys offer and why yoga can help them right now.
Yeah, so on Yoga Fire TV, I tried to create, I've got a family, I've got kids, I've got a wife, I've got a career, I've got a yoga studio I run. On top of this, I'm trying to create this online platform for people to do. And so I tried to find classes that would work for me. So some days I want to get really sweaty, I want to work really hard, I need that physical challenge. So I created vinyasa or power yoga classes for that aspect of me. But then a lot of times, and what I've had to learn is that I can't always power through problems. And I've had to learn to slow down, and I've had to learn a hell of a lot of patience, which is a skill that I'm still definitely working on. And so I tried to create yoga classes that go to those days too, when you're like exhausted, your kids are driving you bonkers, your career feels like, oh my God, like seriously, I gotta go back to work tomorrow.
Yeah.
We can just do something on our mat that will give us the resiliency to be able to refocus, repurpose, and be like, oh yeah, I can go to work tomorrow, or I can face this day, my kid's got to go to homeschool, or whatever's going on in your world. Yoga has an answer for it. And so I tried to create, I've got restorative yoga classes, I've got yin yoga classes, I've got a class called stretch, which is a mixture of some movements and long holds. And then, yeah, my original passion, power yoga and sweating and challenge and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome.
I'm really passionate about a couple programs that I've got one I'm just about to launch and one I'm working on. One is yoga for first responders. So I've created a whole yoga program for that. It helps, goes through not just the learning how to do yoga to how to do yoga a little more efficiently, to then dealing with breathing exercises and meditation, things that I use in my life now to maintain my resiliency, so that when I do go on traumatic calls, that I can learn to process them in healthy ways, not in ways that can happen. So I've tried to create something that's for the stay-at-home parent, the career parent, the career man or woman, and I've tried to do it in a way that makes it pragmatic, so it's useful. I don't like a lot of fluff. I don't like creating, there's lots of people that like that kind of thing. I'm a very much like, I'm a fixer, I'm a firefighter, I want to get things done, but doing it in a way that's sustainable and is going to build resiliency in the body and the mind.
And you know, yoga can be a little bit intimidating for some people. I know you also have yoga for beginners, so let's talk about that for anyone out there that is a little afraid to try yoga.
I'm going to tell you that if you ever try to teach yoga at a fire station, you're going to hear every single excuse and condescending remark you could possibly ever think of hearing. So I've heard literally every excuse in the book, from things that I can't repeat here because you got to keep it PG, to legitimate concerns. And I'd say the two. So I've been teaching yoga for about 8 years now. The two I just still continually in 2020 here is, I can't do yoga because I'm not flexible. And the other one I hear is, I can't do yoga because I can't touch my toes. So what I say to people when they say, oh, I can't do yoga, I can't touch my toes, and this is like a kind of like a dad joke, but I just say, well, how did you put your shoes on today? You bet
that's a good one. That's very true.
Try to, in all my classes, dispel this myth that we need to be gymnast or dancer flexible, and that if you're not achieving that range of motion ability, then you're not doing yoga as well as someone else who maybe has that natural ability or trained in those arts. And so for them, yoga looks really easy. For me, I've tried to create a program that works for the rest of us. Yoga is for everyone, and there's a practice out there for everyone. So my program, I tried to keep it really short. It's 7 30-minute practices, and basically takes you from newbie to understanding yoga architecture, so that when you maybe go to a studio class, or you try other yoga with friends, or you're on a trip when we're finally able to travel again, maybe physical practice first, moving into the mental mindfulness type things, however you want to enter that, and doing it in a way that is just short, quick, gets to the point, makes you understand things, so that you can then just start progressing from there.
And what would you say to encourage viewers to try yoga? Because as I said, everyone's stuck at home and they want exercise, and especially it also helps with your mental wellness. So let's talk about that.
In New Zealand, we're locked down. I always stay in touch with Canada. It's where I'm from, so I'm staying in touch with how things are there. We're all in this really weird boat together with and it's constantly changing. It's continually turbulent. It's stressful. Are our jobs going to be here when this is over? Is my business going to be alive? There's just lots homeschooling kids. I've got 3 kids at home
Wow.
today, trying to get them to do, you know, varying degrees of schoolwork, and then just trying to be like, it's okay what they've done. So staying mentally resilient through this time is very, at first I think all of us thought it would be easy. I'll get in the best shape of my life. I'll do this, I'll do that. And as the days and the weeks have gone on, it's been getting harder to keep that motivation, because it's just, when is this going to be over? Like, the media is continually bombarding us with things like that. In all my channels, I've been just trying to talk about 4 pillars to wellness. And the first one I've been just trying to harp on people is meditating. If you don't know how to meditate, there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of resources out there. And all you have to do is start with 5 minutes a day. And you don't have to, there's apps, there's YouTube, there's my program, there's just get out and start meditating. And you have to commit to it. It's not, oh, I'm gonna do it one day and I'll do it a week later. If you learn to do it, just carve out 5 minutes of your day, 10 minutes if possible, you can really start to develop a resiliency and an ability to learn to let things that aren't serving us go. The second pillar is, I've been calling it stretch, because I've been trying to make it accessible, but what I mean is some sort of yoga program. So obviously I'd love people to try Yoga Fire TV. I've put my heart and soul into it, creating you know, a lot of different classes for people. But the ultimate thing we need to do right now is, if you've never tried yoga, is, well, you've got no excuse now. Give it a shot, because at least it keeps you like doing something at home, and it's something you can do with your family. I've been getting a lot of pictures of people doing yoga with their kids and their partners, and just like, and so I've been really trying to just get people to understand that now is a time that you can just 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You don't have to do studio practice. You don't have to have Lululemon gear. You can just literally have a piece of carpet, have it on your TV, and then just get started. The other 2 pillars are sweating, so doing something outside. So I started with running. I hadn't been a runner for a long time. I went back to running. It was just doing something that got me outside and got me doing something that just felt like I was doing something physical. That got me out of my home, whether that's in the backyard or, I said, running around your neighborhood, going for a walk, boot camp, if you're into that, just doing something. And then the last one is community. And it's, even though we're all, you know, locked up, I've been seeing lots of people, you know, doing Zoom parties, you know, like cheers with their friends and stuff like that. You know, just because we're, you know, not able to do the things we all want doesn't mean we can't still talk to our neighbors over the fence, or, you know, do things in our community to help each other. So that's checking in with friends, you know, calling someone. I've even said to people, like, how retro would it be to actually write a letter, stick it in a mailbox and send it to someone? A week from now, open up a letter from someone that you maybe haven't heard from in a year or 2, or even just in a week or 2, and just get something like that's that touching, that you've made that effort and stuff like that. So staying in those 4 pillars for me has kept me resilient. Like, I am working full-time still as a firefighter.
But I think everything that you said is such great advice, because people need it right now. They need to be active. They need to preserve their mental health. And I think your company, Yoga Fire TV, is also very timely, since people are home and need exercise. How do you think being a firefighter kind of prepared you to be an entrepreneur with Yoga Fire TV?
I've been, as a firefighter, in 2 countries, completely different parts of the world. I have worked with great leaders and mentors, and I've worked with poor leaders and poor, you know, working relationships with people. And as a firefighter, we need to always, like, whether you like the people you work with or you don't, when the bell rings, you have to do your job. There's just no question about it. And I think what being a firefighter has taught me as an entrepreneur is continuing to just push through. Like, when I've been at a house fire, I've been to the point of, like, almost sheer exhaustion. You're working, you know, in Edmonton, when it was -40, I was still fighting house fires. There's still like that aspect of like you work until the job is done. And so as an entrepreneur, that concept of just that determination to just continue through adversity, through hardship, through all of the things that want to knock you down as an entrepreneur. Being a firefighter, it's been like, it's okay, what's the next solution? Okay, that one's failed, what can we do now? And that's something that at a fire call that we're constantly doing. You see a problem, you show up to a random address, within 60 to 90 seconds, you need to find a reasonable, safe plan to save people's lives, to save their property. And then if that fails, you have another like 20 seconds to come up with something else maybe. And so, yeah, the idea of determination, hard work. With my yoga studio, I've tried to learn aspects of and replicate scenarios that I've seen at my job, where mentors and leaders have done a great job of helping me understand my job as a firefighter, and then using that to help create a work environment at my yoga studio where people feel it's a team, we can work together, I've got their back, they've got my back, and it's not just, show up and teach some positions and some yoga postures and go home. I wanted to create like a whole community and like a brother and sisterhood that I've had as a firefighter, and I've tried to create that in all the aspects of my yoga business.
And Tim, where can people connect with Yoga Fire TV and you on social media?
Yogafire.nz is my main page. I do have a yogafire.tv page, which is just trying to talk about the platform. I also, on my yoga studio, it's the Loft NZ, and that's on Instagram and Facebook. Yeah, social Yoga Fire NZ. If you search socials, you'll find something there about me, hopefully. And then my website is yogafire.tv, which tells you all about me as a person. And then there's free classes there. And then you can download the app, and you can use the subscription to access all of the content versus there's about 20 free classes on the website that people can use to try it out. Plus right now I'm doing a 30-day free trial with a coupon code, and then a reduced rate if you decide to stay after the 30 days for the subscription. So it's $16 New Zealand a month, which is about $12 Canadian at the moment. So it's really cost effective, and people can cancel at any time.
Thank you so much, Tim, for being on the show today. Keep up the amazing work with being a firefighter and, of course, with Yoga Fire TV. I wish you all the best in your endeavors.
Great. Thanks so much for having me, and it's been really great talking with you. Have a great day.
Tag TV is available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Apple and Android TVs, as well as on Apple and Android phones. Join us live through Facebook and YouTube.
Subscribe Tag TV YouTube channel and press the notification button.